observation has tested positive for the novel coronavirus. This is the first case in the country.
This largest COVID-19 facility in central Luzon accommodates cases when Metro Manila's wards become full.
Since its outbreak, COVID-19 has been threatening the lives of people. The deadly and infectious virus did not only make breathing difficult for humankind.
It's gotten worse.
Yeah, there's more stuff like the PPE is just 10 minutes on the dive. We saw like around 10, 12 masks, and we never had that before.
It also suffocated Mother Earth. In late December of 2019, a new coronavirus was identified in China. The coronavirus disease caused by the SARS-CoV-2 virus was declared a public health emergency of international concern on the 30th of January 2020, and the pandemic later on March 11. Spreading mainly through droplets, COVID-19 causes mild to moderate respiratory illness. However, in some cases, people infected by the virus become severely ill, and sometimes this even costs lives. COVID-19 cases have grown enormously all throughout the world. One of the primary safety measures applied to avoid transmission is the requirement to wear face masks, especially in public places.
Ako si Allen Dumlao, taga Dasmariñas. Ngayong pandemic, bihira na kasi akong lumabas. Ngayong nag-aaral din ako, wala naman akong trabaho. Siguro mga once a week lang po. Hindi ako gumagamit ng cloth kasi mas nire-recommenda daw kasi ng IATF yung surgical mask. Surgical mask lang po ginagamit ko.
Impossible, ma'am. Kasi yan, hindi sila naglalaba. Parang iba-iba ng gawa ngayon. Marami ng variety. Marami ng assorted na siya. Colored, full, at saka iba-iba yung mga design. Kaya yung iba gusto nila ng disposable. Ako rin minsan, apasin ko, mas gusto ko disposable. Kasi mas malaki sila yan. Mas malaki. Yung mga ganyan, medyo hindi masyadong malaki ba? Ano lang, akma lang sila.
Ito po medyo, ito po yung magpinta natin.
Walang masyadong bumibili ganito.
The demand for face masks elevated dramatically. China, the main supplier and manufacturer of disposable face masks, has increased their production due to the high demand. From 20 million units in January 2020, their face mask production increased to an estimated 200 million units per day in March 2020. Our country has also elevated its face mask production as well. Before the pandemic, there was only one surgical mask manufacturer in the country. With the help of other known manufacturers, the Philippines now produces an estimate of 25 million masks a month.
Hindi rin mabilang kasi marami. Pero maraming face mask at face shield na natatapon.
With that much production, more waste follows. This waste will not only harm us humans, but also other species and their habitats. Improperly discarded face masks are of great hazard to both land and water biodiversities. Last February 2020, approximately 100 face masks were gathered in just 100 meters of one of Hong Kong's shorelines. That is about one improperly discarded mask every meter. In the Mediterranean, face masks were seen floating like a jellyfish in the ocean. This type of waste is also evident in our country, the Philippines.
As the pandemic continues, people have been more obliged to wear face masks. Despite this, there is little to no guidance on how we can properly discard our masks. Improperly discarded face masks are a huge hazard for waste collectors and the public in general because in certain conditions, the virus can survive for 7 days in a surgical face mask.
If we continue on being passive in this certain issue, we and our children will not be able to live in a safe environment. Surgical face masks use plastic material, and over time these break down into smaller pieces. These materials first break down into microplastics and eventually into even smaller nanoplastics. These tiny particles and fibers are often long-lived polymers that can accumulate in food chains. Just one mask can produce millions of particles, each with the potential to also carry chemicals and bacteria up the food chain, and potentially even into humans.
Ramon San Pascual, an executive director of Healthcare Without Harm Southeast Asia, stated in an interview that if every Filipino will use a disposable face mask every day, that is 100 million a day or 3 billion in a month. According to the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, since the start of the lockdown in March 2020 up to April 2021, our country has already generated 52,000 metric tons of medical waste. That is almost an equivalent to 2 million sacks of rice. During this time, the state of nature is already very fragile. Our reckless attitude is now destroying our very own home that we also share with other living organisms. Irresponsible waste management contributes directly to climate change by adding carbon-based particles into the air, resulting in warmer air and creating a disastrous greenhouse effect.
Often, we are too busy worrying about people. We tend to worry about our families, our friends, and most especially ourselves. With the situation becoming worse and worse each day, these feelings of anxiety are valid. Naturally, we tend to be afraid that the virus might touch our skin. We are worried that the virus might enter our lungs. We are fearful of not being able to breathe, and we are afraid of dying, and that is understandable. But too often, we are so preoccupied worrying about other people that we forget that we are not the only ones who need saving. Mother Earth needs us too.
With these considerations in mind, one simple action we could all take to improve the use and disposal of face masks and protect ourselves from the transmission of the virus as well would be to bring our mask holder when we go out. When allowed to go out, most tend to eat outside. And with more restaurants reopening and accepting customers, this trend is only likely to grow. If we practice using a mask holder, we reduce the possibility of harmful germs and viruses spreading onto our belongings and clothing, as well as other public surfaces. This practice will also maximize the use of one face mask.
In addition, we have to remember that surgical face masks and face shields are both non-biodegradable. Improper disposal of them may aggravate pollution, endanger animals, and ultimately harm our biodiversity. Thus, instead of using disposable face masks, using alternatives such as washable ones may help reduce the number of face masks thrown everywhere, whether on land or in bodies of water.
Aside from precautionary measures and of course medical solutions, good governance is needed to eradicate the need to use face masks and face shields once and for all. We must not lose sight of the fact that actions that contribute to climate change are part of a larger global health emergency that affects us and our futures. By mobilizing climate action for health and health action for climate, we can all become leaders in achieving reduction goals and building healthy, resilient communities in the face of climate risk.
We must change our mindset now to keep us and our families safe.
We must change our behavior now for us to keep our planet alive.
At this point, our action shall not just be only about you and me. With the little time we have left to act, we must ensure that our children will be able to live in a safe and healthy world.
Our lips may be under our masks, but we shall not be silenced. We must act now, because if we don't, then it is not the virus that will kill us all.
The truth is unmasked, and we must take action now.